Hey guys, it's Godbars here, the self-proclaimed hip-hop historian, and this is the 206th episode of my series, where I grab a vinyl from my collection, talk about why I love it, what influence it has, and what its place is in the grand scheme of hip-hop. So Nazir may not be a new face to this page, but it's definitely been a little while since I covered him. I believe the most recent upload was my It Was Written review, but that was still a while ago now, so I'll link that down below, along with my Illmatic review. The album we are talking about today is 2001 Stillmatic, which may not be lorded over to the degree the other two are, but make no mistake, this is what I would argue is Nas's creative and maybe even lyrical peak. Also, from what I can tell, I seem to be the only person in the world who actually likes this album cover, because I always hear people say how bad they think it is, but for some reason I think it's kinda sick. Anyway, this album came after what most Nas fans consider a lull in his mostly consistent discography, with somewhat lackluster projects like I Am and Nostradamus, both of which came out in 1999. Stillmatic showed the legend wasn't ready to be counted out as the king of New York, and he kept this high level of quality with following releases like The Lost Tapes or Godson, both of which came out in 2002. But back to the album at hand, there are plenty of artists who fall on the receiving end of Nas's lyrical barbs on this thing, from Cormega to Nature. However, it isn't really much of a contest when it comes to the most iconic shot thrown on here, and it's in response to Jay-Z's Takeover, which came out earlier that same year when Hove released a classic of his own in The Blueprint. You can put Ether right next to the most beloved and well-known diss tracks in hip-hop history, like Eazy-E's Real Motherfucking G's, Dr. Dre's Fuck with Dre Day, Biggie's Long Kiss Goodnight, and even Ice Cube's No Vaseline. Yet it's hard to argue against Ether as the most instantly recognizable and impactful lyrical attack the genre has to offer, and it's pretty much only rivaled by Tupac's Hit 'Em Up in my eyes. There's really no other song I can think of where the point it's trying to make is delivered within the first 5 seconds of the track, with the Fuck Jay-Z sample becoming the most quoted moment from this entire back and forth, and that's before Nas even opens his mouth. Keep in mind, I'm a giant Jay fan, and I even think Takeover is a much better diss than certain people give it credit for. But I think Nas was able to ultimately control the narrative to a degree, mainly because of how he went about dismantling his opponent. The angle he utilized is something we've seen plenty of times since, where you sort of take the quote-unquote father role and talk down to the person you're beefing with as if they're your son. Also, the way Nas structured this hook is just lethal, with the phrase "I will not lose" being dished out through each line of the chorus through his ad-libs. I do want to share the first few lines off his starting verse in Ether, since this track comes right after the intro song and basically serves as a vehicle for Nas to grab the listener's hand and lead them into this experience with guns blazing. He goes right for the throat, rapping, "Brace yourself for the main event. Y'all impatiently waiting. It's like an AIDS test. What's the results? Not positive. Who's the best? Pac, Nas, and Big. Ain't no best, east, west, north, south, flossed out. Greetings, I embrace y'all with napalm. Blows up, no guts left, chest, face gone. How could Nas beat garbage? Semi-autos at your cartilage, burner at the side of your dome, come out of my throne." But even outside of Ether, there's still plenty of fiery Nas moments that pop up on Stillmatic, and one of my favorites comes in the form of Rewind, arguably the most creative and well-executed concept track that early 2000s hip-hop had to offer. This song sees the icon tell a story backwards, starting at the end and finishing at the beginning of the tale, and in my opinion, it's ideas like this one that really display how there's levels to writing in hip-hop, and while there may be nothing new under the sun, that doesn't mean there aren't innovative, unique, and forward-thinking ways you can make an idea your own. This track is so awesome I'd probably read the entire thing if I could, but since that isn't really practical, I'll just share a little chunk. That way, if you aren't familiar with this stellar piece of writing, you can get a sense of whether it interests you enough to check out the rest. Nas sets off this concept with, "Dog, whatever they call you, God, just listen. I'll spit a story backwards. It starts at the ending. The bullet goes back in the gun. The bullet holes close in the chest of a man. Now he back to square one. Scream and shoot, don't please. I put my fifth back on my hip. It's like a VCR rewinding a hit. He put his hands back on his bitch. My caravan doors opened up. I jumped back in the van, they close and shut. Go in reverse, we slowly prepare. My dude Jungle utters out something crazy like, go he there. Sitting back in his chair, we hitting the roach. The smoke goes back in the blunt gets bigger in growth. Jungle unrolls it, puts the weed back in the jar, the blunt turns back into a cigar. We listened to Stevie, it sounded like heavy metal fans playing records backwards of AC/DC. I'd love to keep going until the part where Nas has a whole argument on the phone backwards, but then I would just end up reading the entire thing, so I have to move on to the handful of producers who helped make this amazing LP work. These include a good heap of talented names like Megahertz, Baby Paul, Chucky Thompson, DJ Premier, Hangman 3, LES, Large Professor, Lo-Fi, Mike Risco, Ron Browse, Salam Remy, Trackmasters, Precision, and Nas himself. With guest appearances, we don't get nearly as big a roster, though there are still a small handful of features from the likes of Amiri, Millennial Thug, Keon Bryce, Blitz the Ambassador, and AZ. For my favorite tracks on this LP, I'm going to leave out Ether and Rewind since I broke down both at length, and instead name my top 3 as Got Yourself a Gun, You're the Man, and One Mic. When it comes to my honorable mentions, I think I'm going to shout out tracks like Stillmatic, The Intro, Smoke in Every Ghetto, Second Childhood, Destroy and Rebuild, The Flyest, What Comes Around, and Rule. Thank you for watching my 206th video. Next up, we have a late legend who I've long maintained as the best freestyle rapper to ever do it. So look for that one, and if you enjoyed, be sure to like, subscribe, and let me know what your favorite moments off this impressive comeback album of sorts are. Don't forget to have a great day, and I'll see you next time, okay? Alright.
Look, the key to my soul is locked in the cage it opens. The framework was made from my own rib. Q, what came first, the crack or the crack lighter? Whichever one the first fiend used to bring back